For years, the Beckham family sold us a perfect dream. That picture-perfect power squad with elite status and unshakable unity. Everything about them screamed class, control, and luxury. But that glossy image, it's starting to crumble fast, and the cracks are now too big to hide. Right in the middle of all this chaos stands Brooklyn Beckham, his wife, Nicola Peltz, and her billionaire gad, Nelson Peltz. Word on the street says Nelson never really saw Brooklyn as someone who fit his daughter's world of serious money and influence. What started as side-eye glances and quiet tension behind the scenes has now exploded into a full-blown family war. This isn't just some emotional fallout, it's gone legal. We're talking lawyers sending letters, icy silence replacing family dinners, and public appearances that feel colder than ever. It's clear that some lines got crossed, trust got shattered, and the loyalty everyone bragged about, gone. Nobody's pretending anymore. And now, everyone's asking the same burning question. Is Brooklyn moving on his own, or is he fully under the Peltz family's grip? Because behind those polished Instagram posts and sweet captions, a serious power shift is going down. Everything finally hit the wall when Brooklyn dropped that long, emotional post, and it was straight fire aimed at his own parents. He called out David and Victoria for twisting the story, protecting their brand over real family love, and disrespecting Nicola again and again. No filters, no sugarcoating, Brooklyn made it loud and clear where his loyalty stands, and it's not with Team Beckham anymore. What stunned everyone wasn't just Brooklyn's words, it was the ice-cold tone behind them. No peace offering, no we'll figure it out, just a brutal full stop. That post felt final, like the end of an era. And according to people close to the Beckhams, that moment had been brewing for a long time before it ever went public. Something serious went down behind those mansion doors, and it was anything but pretty. David and Victoria Beckham reportedly reached out with a private letter. Not through the press, not through friends, not a PR move, just a raw, direct message to their son. By then, all communication had fallen apart. That letter was their last desperate attempt to reach him before things went completely cold. But what made it even worse? Brooklyn had allegedly sent his parents a cease and desist order, demanding they stop mentioning him in public and only contact him through lawyers. That single move sent shockwaves through the entire Beckham family. It wasn't just a boundary, it was a wall. And what really broke David and Victoria wasn't just the letter itself, but their belief about who was behind it. Insiders claim they didn't think that legal move came straight from Brooklyn. They suspected heavy influence from Nicola and her billionaire dad, Nelson Peltz. And that's when everything flipped. The letter David and Victoria sent back wasn't angry or defensive, it full of heart. Insiders say it read more like a cry from parents who were scared for their kid, not celebrities fighting a PR war. No threats, no ultimatums, just two parents begging for one thing, proof that Brooklyn was okay. But instead of cooling things down, that emotional gesture only pushed him further away. Days later, Brooklyn fired back publicly. He said he was finally standing for himself and clapped back at the idea that Nicola controlled his every move. He insisted that the story was totally twisted, that for years it was actually his parents who called the shots in his life. He made it clear he wasn't going back to that. But here's where things get complicated. While Brooklyn says he's finally free, the reality looks a lot messier. Every move he's made since cutting ties seems to pull him deeper into the Peltz world. He's living in their circle, rolling with their crowd, and word is, he only talks to his parents now through intermediaries. The fairy tale Beckham family picture, it's officially shattered. That's why more and more people are whispering this isn't just about hurt feelings anymore. It's a full-blown power struggle. And if there's one moment everyone keeps dragging back into the spotlight, it's that wedding. More specifically, the now infamous first dance that changed everything. According to Brooklyn, his mother, Victoria, allegedly stepped in during his first dance with Nicola, a move he says left him blindsided and humiliated in front of everyone. He claims Nicola ran out of the room in tears, completely crushed. Depending on who you talk to, the details shift, but one thing everyone agrees on, that moment flipped the entire energy in the room instantly. What should have been a magical, once-in-a-lifetime celebration turned awkward in seconds. Guests say the room went cold, like someone hit pause on the fairy tale. That dance was supposed to unite two powerful families, but instead it cracked something deep that never healed. Even people who tried to stay neutral felt the tension in the air. And here's the real kicker. That dance wasn't about choreography or song choice. It was about emotion, pride, and boundaries. For Nicola, that night marked the moment she drew the line in the sand. Reports say she made her stance very clear. She wasn't going to play nice if it meant being disrespected. After the wedding, sources close to the situation claim Brooklyn faced an impossible decision: keep peace with his mom or stand by his wife. No middle ground, no compromise. And when it came down to it, Brooklyn chose Nicola, plain and simple. From there, things only got icier. There were allegedly declined invites, skipped events, and radio silence between both sides. Insiders say Nicola has stayed firm. She reportedly refuses to attend any gathering where David and Victoria are present. Some see it as self-protection, others think it's a power move, but whichever side you believe, one fact can't be denied. The divide is real.
Beckham and Nicola Peltz have been seen for the first time since he denounced his family after telling pals, "We're glad we did it." The couple was spotted arm in arm in Malibu, with pals revealing that Brooklyn's now even more insistent on having nothing to do with his famous folks. They said the married couple feel relieved to get things out in the open after Brooklyn made a string of incendiary accusations which left his parents David and Victoria devastated.
Now, Brooklyn Beckham is living almost completely separate from the family he grew up with, and that distance keeps growing. Meanwhile, Nicola stays front and center, shining in public, while the rest of the Beckham clan tries to keep it together behind closed doors. The real powerhouse in this whole family saga barely speaks: Nicola's father, Nelson Peltz. This man moves in silence, but holds all the cards. He's not just rich, he's billionaire rich, a sharp investor, a corporate giant, and a master at control and strategy. And according to multiple insiders, he's never been overly impressed with Brooklyn Beckham, not even in the beginning. That opinion still hasn't changed. Sources claim Nelson quietly brushed off Brooklyn's different career tries, from photography to cooking to lifestyle branding, seeing them as messy, unfocused, and lacking real direction. He didn't need to insult anyone out loud or make a scene. His power move was silence, that calm, cold kind of doubt that cuts deeper than words. And when a man like Nelson, with serious money and influence, doesn't believe in you, that silence hits hard, especially when you're living under his roof and inside his world. Then there's one detail that's got everyone talking: the prenup. Before the wedding, Brooklyn reportedly signed a tight, no-loophole prenuptial agreement. If things ever went south, he'd walk away with nothing from the Peltz empire. The only thing he'd keep is whatever he and Nicola built together. No family money, no safety net, just what's his. But the real concern here isn't about the cash. It's about control and dependency. Because if that marriage ever crumbles, Brooklyn wouldn't just lose Nicola, he'd lose everything: the lifestyle, the connections, the security. Insiders say that's what's been haunting David and Victoria the most: the fear that their son has tied his entire future to someone else's world, and that he might not have a way back if it all falls apart. Even after all the drama, people close to the Beckhams swear the door's still open. They say David and Victoria would welcome Brooklyn back in a heartbeat. No rules, no apology tour, no public statements needed. Just family, plain and simple. But Brooklyn? He's standing firm. He says he's got no regrets, no guilt, and that walking away wasn't rebellion, it was survival. Meanwhile, life hasn't slowed down for the rest of the Beckhams. His siblings are out there making moves, building their own careers, and keeping their distance from the chaos. David and Victoria are still smiling for cameras, holding up the brand, and keeping everything looking smooth from the outside. Except for one missing piece in that perfect picture: Brooklyn. And while he keeps saying he's finally free, people who've known him long before Nicola, long before the fame and the headlines, are starting to speak out. And what they're saying isn't easy to hear. One of the most surprising voices didn't come from showbiz at all. It came from football. Brooklyn's old youth coach from his time with Queens Park Rangers broke his silence, and his take caught everyone off guard. He didn't choose sides, didn't defend David and Victoria, and didn't praise Brooklyn either. Instead, he painted a raw, emotional picture that made a lot of people rethink everything. He described a childhood filled with pressure, constant attention, and quiet anxiety that most kids could never imagine. He talked about how Brooklyn was surrounded by full-time security at just 14, always watched, always guarded. Fame and money were everywhere, but according to him, that didn't bring peace or happiness. Behind all the privilege, there was still emptiness, stress, and a kid trying to find his place in a world that treated him like a brand before he even had a chance to grow up. It's a tough reminder that even in a family built on glamour and power, the emotional cost can run deep, and not even the Beckhams are immune to it. Some moments in that coach's story hit deep, and honestly, they were unsettling. He didn't point fingers, but the message came through clear-cut. Brooklyn never had a normal childhood, and that lack of normalcy, it left him wide open, vulnerable to pressure, influence, and the belief that cutting everyone off was the only way to feel safe. And here's where things start to get really uncomfortable. When you strip away the emotions and the headlines, one truth stands out. Nicola didn't leave her world to join Brooklyn's, it was the other way around. Brooklyn left everything he knew to step into her world. She stayed close to her powerful family, kept her full support system, and remained financially independent. Meanwhile, Brooklyn distanced himself from his parents, lost the structure that raised him, and placed his emotional future in just one household. That imbalance right there, that's what's got people whispering and watching. Because it's not about blaming anyone, it's about what happens when your whole sense of belonging depends on one circle. Isolation changes people fast. When one person or one family becomes your whole emotional anchor, their influence grows naturally, even if they never say a word. And in the middle of it all sits Nelson Peltz, calm and silent. No statements, no denials, no public defense of his son-in-law. That silence isn't random, it's power. People who know Nelson say he's direct, strategic, and not easily impressed by charm or image. He doesn't waste time with emotional theatrics. He deals with results, control, and long-term moves. Reports say Nelson still sees Brooklyn as scattered and unfocused, someone trying to find his lane but constantly switching directions. And when a man with Nelson's kind of wealth and influence keeps quiet, it's not because he's ignoring the noise. It's because he's already 2 steps ahead, watching how the story unfolds from the top of the game. A young man still trying to figure out his path while carrying one of the most famous last names on the planet. That's how a lot of people see Brooklyn Beckham right now. Maybe that view isn't totally fair, but when serious money and power are in the mix, perception hits way harder than truth. And according to insiders, Nelson Peltz's doubts about Brooklyn have only deepened as the feud with his parents dragged on. In elite circles, cutting off your family doesn't scream strength, it signals instability. It makes people question loyalty, control, and long-term vision.
Brooklyn says that his mom, Victoria Beckham, interrupted and, quote, hijacked a dance that he'd planned. This was supposed to be a romantic dance between him and his now wife, Nicola Peltz, that took place on their wedding night. He also says that his mom canceled making Nicola's wedding dress at the 11th hour. And today we actually heard from David Beckham. He was on CNBC this morning, and while he didn't address this controversy specifically, he was asked about social media and children's use of social media. So here's what he said.
They make mistakes. Children are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. So that's what I try to teach my kids. But you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well.
So the big question now is if and when we'll actually hear from Victoria Beckham. Will she tell her side of the story? Because she is really at the center of the issues that Brooklyn says he has with the Beckham family.
But there's another layer shaping all this is Brooklyn's professional identity. He's jumped from photography to cooking to lifestyle branding, always trying something new but never fully locking in. Each pivot sparks gossip online and reportedly private concern inside the Peltz inner circle. Nelson's world runs on structure, strategy, and solid outcomes, and to him, Brooklyn's constant reinventions look like uncertainty. And when you stack that up next to David Beckham's iron discipline, consistency, and years of grind to build his legacy, the contrast hits even harder. The Beckhams built their name on loyalty and legacy, while the Peltzes operate on power, results, and leverage. When those two value systems collide, friction isn't a maybe, it's a guarantee. Insiders claim Nelson Peltz has never been fully convinced Brooklyn brings enough to the table, not financially, not strategically, not even symbolically. To a man like Nelson, every relationship is an investment, and Brooklyn's still struggling to prove his worth in that world. Meanwhile, people close to David and Victoria say this version of their son didn't just appear overnight. They insist it started slowly, little shifts that went unnoticed at first. Decisions he used to make on his own started running through someone else. Conversations became guarded, filtered, and before long, even private family talks began involving lawyers instead of love. They say Brooklyn didn't always sound like this. He didn't always see his parents as the problem or talk like he was being controlled. But now, that's the only narrative he seems to believe, and it's one that's left everyone wondering just how far the divide has really gone. Brooklyn completely rejects that version of the story. He swears that's not how it went down. But even then, the timing is impossible to ignore. The deeper he got into his marriage with Nicola, the further he drifted from his parents, and everyone's noticing that pattern. It's like the closer he got to the Peltz world, the more distance grew between him and the Beckhams, and that quiet shift keeps people talking. What's even more revealing in this whole feud isn't who's in the middle of it, it's who's not. Brooklyn's siblings have stayed solid with their parents. They still show up, post family photos, celebrate milestones, and live their own independent lives without cutting off the family name. That difference has people raising real questions because it makes Brooklyn's situation look like the outlier, not the norm. And that leads to the uncomfortable question everyone is whispering. If the Beckham household was really as controlling as Brooklyn claims, then why did only one child walk away completely and do it in such a public, dramatic way? Sure, some fans praise Brooklyn for standing his ground and protecting his peace, but insiders say the emotional cost has been brutal. The warm family check-ins? Gone. The easy phone calls and unplanned dinners? A thing of the past. Every bit of communication now goes through layers, filtered, formal, and carefully managed, like a business deal instead of a family bond. Once a relationship reaches that level of cold distance, fixing it becomes a whole different battle. The love might still be there, but pride, pressure, and power have taken over. And for the Beckhams, that's the part that hurts the most. Most celebrity family dramas follow the same tired script. Chaos breaks out, everyone goes quiet, and then comes the big emotional reunion. But this one, it's different because it's not just emotional, it's structural. Two powerful families, two clashing worlds, and one son stuck right in the middle. And the longer this Cold War drags on, the more permanent it all feels. that's what makes this whole situation hit so heavy. It's not just one fight or one bad night. It's about power, influence, and control. Two empires playing chess while emotions get used as pawns. And the real question now is what happens if Brooklyn ever changes his mind? Because walking away is easy when you're convinced you're right, but coming back, that takes real humility, real accountability, and forgiveness on both sides. Insiders say David and Victoria Beckham are still open to making peace. They'd take their son back in a heartbeat. But that open door doesn't extend to everyone involved. Even if Brooklyn wanted to reconnect tomorrow, that path home would be steep, complicated, and definitely not guaranteed. And here's where it gets even messier. Would Nicola even stand behind a reunion if Brooklyn decided to make that move? Would Nelson Peltz, the man who's kept silent this whole time, ever allow that bridge to be rebuilt? Or has that line already been crossed for good? Right now, the Beckham world exists in two totally separate realities. One side moving forward as a united front, the other standing apart, locked behind luxury gates and silence. Brooklyn swears he has no regrets, David and Victoria claim they'll wait as long as it takes, and Nicola, she stays steady, visible, and unbothered, always in the center of it all. Whether she's fiercely protecting her marriage or quietly steering the story from behind the scenes depends on who you ask. But one thing everyone can agree on, Brooklyn Beckham's life has changed completely, and there may be no simple way to turn back. So now the real question lingers. Is this distance forever, or is there still room for healing? Did Brooklyn truly choose freedom, or did he just swap one kind of control for another? And if he ever did want to return, would anyone even let him? If you found this breakdown wild, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been following every twist of this story. And stick around, because more jaw-dropping Hollywood deep dives are coming your way soon.
Control freak, and I always call myself a control freak, but in a nice way. When you take someone that likes to be in control and you put them in a situation which is out of their control, it makes them feel very uncomfortable.